In my 30s, the weirdest thing isn't that I'm stressed. It's that I'm safe. Stable income, clear career path, the life everyone said I should build. And I'm still quietly panicking. The paradox is brutal. I'm scared of wasting my life, so I stay exactly where I am. Because leaving means risking the very thing I've built to avoid waste. The job that drains me also protects me. The routine that bores me also feeds my family. And the fear of wasting my life keeps me from doing anything that might actually make it feel worth living. Here's the moment it hit me. What happens to my family if I fail? So I stayed. Not because I wanted to, because leaving felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. And here's what nobody tells you when you're building your career in your 20s. By the time you figure out what you actually want to do, you've already built a life that makes changing nearly impossible. Your income supports people who depend on you. Your experience locks you into a specific lane. Your age becomes a liability in industries that worship youth and speed. You're not trapped by lack of options. You're trapped by the weight of the life you've successfully built. The real waste isn't picking the wrong path. It's spending years afraid to step off it, watching your life become the very thing you were trying to avoid. Predictable, comfortable, and utterly unfulfilling. All because you were too terrified of wasting it to actually live it. I still remember the exact conversation I had with myself about changing careers. It was less of a decision and more of a negotiation with fear. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. with my mind already running calculations, that specific kind of math where you're trying to figure out how long you could survive without income if the new thing didn't work out. What skills would transfer? Would anyone even hire someone my age who was starting over? I'd pull up that Excel spreadsheet I'd made, the one tracking every monthly obligation. Mortgage, car payment, the credit card balance from when we had to replace the roof, my kids' tuition deposit. The numbers weren't just numbers anymore. They were the exact price of changing my mind about my life. What I didn't understand then, what took me years to see, was that this wasn't just about money or timing. It was about two mechanisms that keep you locked in place, even when you know better. The first one, I kept telling myself the timing's not right. But really, I was just choosing the default because staying felt safer than choosing. There's a name for this, status quo bias. It's the tendency to prefer things stay as they are, even when staying no longer serves you. The current situation becomes the reference point, and anything else, no matter how much better it might be, feels like loss. The second one, I wasn't choosing the best future. I was choosing the future that would hurt me least if it went wrong. I was so afraid of making the wrong choice and having to live with, what if I hadn't? That I chose the option that felt like it would create the least regret. Except staying creates its own regret, the slow, accumulating kind that whispers, what if I had? Every morning when the alarm goes off. And underneath both of these is something your body does automatically. Uncertainty doesn't feel neutral to your nervous system. For a lot of us, it registers as threat, not because we're dramatic, but because the brain hates not knowing. Your heart races, your stomach drops, your mind floods with catastrophic scenarios. This isn't weakness. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do. The problem is, in modern life, staying in the known can be its own kind of death. Just slower, quieter, harder to see. Then there's the question nobody wants to say out loud. What if I'm too old to start over? I don't fear learning something new. I fear looking like a beginner in a life where I'm expected to be competent. And here's the reframe that changed how I saw it. Leaving is expensive, but staying is just a bill you pay slowly, in hours of work that don't matter, in the part of yourself that stops believing you could become something different, in explaining to your kids that you have to work late again on something you don't care about. So I sit in this space between knowing I'm unhappy and being unable to do anything about it. Not because I lack courage, because the very structure of modern work and adult responsibility has created a trap where the fear of wasting my life becomes the mechanism by which I waste it. But knowing why I'm stuck doesn't make me less stuck. There's something darker underneath, something that tightens the trap even when I can see it clearly. Every day I stay, I'm rewriting my own story about who I am. The kind of person who plays it safe, who prioritizes stability over passion, who had dreams once but grew up and got realistic. Somewhere along the way, my role replaced myself. I stopped being a person who happens to do this job and became the person who does this job. The job title became the answer to, who are you? My entire identity got absorbed into a function I'm not even sure I chose anymore, or if it chose me, and I just said yes because it was stable. What the financial obligations do that I didn't understand before. They don't just take money. They take bandwidth. They colonize the part of my brain that can picture a different life. When you're running calculations at 2 a.m. about whether you can make rent if you take a pay cut, you don't have the mental space left over to imagine what you'd do if money wasn't a factor. The bills don't just constrain your choices, they constrain your capacity to dream. The culture makes this worse by selling me a lie that freedom is always available if I just want it enough. What I never see is the infrastructure underneath. The supportive spouse with stable income and health insurance. The family money that can cover a year of negative cash flow. The safety nets that make risk survivable. I only see the success stories, which makes my own fear feel like personal weakness rather than rational risk assessment. What's standing between me and change isn't lack of courage. It's the rent check that has to clear next week. It's being nearly 40 and competing with 25-year-olds who can afford to work for exposure because they don't have a mortgage. It's knowing that starting over doesn't mean starting fresh. It means starting with all the obligations I've already accumulated. So I'm not stuck between two versions of myself, the one who stays and the one who leaves. I'm stuck in a system that tells me to follow my dreams while structuring my life so that following my dreams could destroy my family's security. It celebrates risk-taking while removing every safety net that makes risk survivable. Here's the impossible center. The fear of wasting my life requires me to know what not wasting looks like. But I can't know if the new path is meaningful until I've already left the old one. And I can't leave the old one without risking everything I've built to avoid waste. I'm being asked to know the answer before I can ask the question, to be certain about a future that can only be discovered through uncertainty. I can't stay without slowly dying inside. But I can't leave without risking everything I've built to survive. And the fear of making the wrong choice keeps me frozen exactly where I am, watching time pass. Which means the fear of wasting my life has already wasted it. The trap was never the choice between staying or leaving. It was believing I had to know the answer before I could take the step. So what do I do with this? Not how to fix it, because I don't know if it gets fixed. I'm still in the middle of it myself, still carrying the weight of those obligations, still uncertain if what comes next will work, or make sense, or be worth the cost. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the transformation isn't about finally making the leap, or finding the perfect moment, or becoming certain enough to move. Maybe it's about recognizing that this feeling, this specific anxiety about wasting time, is information, not truth. My fear that I'm too old to learn something new doesn't mean I am too old. It means I'm in a culture that worships youth and punishes accumulated wisdom. My worry that the financial reality makes change impossible doesn't mean change is impossible. It means I'm in a system that ties survival to staying in place. This week, I'm not trying to reinvent my life. I'm just trying to stop treating fear like a verdict. I'm practicing letting myself be bad at something new for 6 months without needing to be immediately good at it. I'm not leaving my job. I can't afford to, not yet. But I'm carving out a corner of my week that still feels like mine, reshaping small parts of my current work to align more with what actually matters to me. It's not a revolution, but it's motion instead of paralysis. The obligations don't disappear, but I'm trying to stop letting them be the final word on what I'm allowed to want. I'm trying to stop treating my age like a disability instead of accumulated pattern recognition. I'm acknowledging that starting over at 35 or 40 or 45 means starting differently, not from scratch, but from depth. Tomorrow you'll wake up and the weight will still be there. The fear won't have vanished. The uncertainty won't feel any more comfortable. Maybe you'll take one small step, not because you're certain it'll work, but because you're certain of what happens if you don't. Maybe you'll stop asking if you're wasting your life and start asking what would make it feel less like a waste. Maybe this is what it means to be in transition. Not having answers, but having motion. Not certainty, but direction. Not knowing if you're making the right choice, but knowing that staying still is definitely the wrong one. The fear of wasting your life might never go away, but it doesn't have to be the thing that wastes it. That choice, at least, is still yours.